Welcome to the Impact Lounge. Feel the sound. Legends in the ring making moves all around. We got the fire, the heart, the stories untold. This is our moment. Watch the magic unfold. Welcome to the Impact Lounge, where we reign. Kings and queens of the ring breaking chains. We taking wrestling to a whole new height. Under bright lights, we ignite the fight. Genesis to rebellion. The crowd still chanting.
Boys and girls, what up? It is your boy BQ. Welcome to the Negative BQ YouTube channel. This is your Impact Lounge Impact Wrestling review for February 6th, 2025. This is a Tuesday night podcast. It is 10 p.m. my time. Dropping this really late on you guys, and I apologize. I was absolutely slammed this week. The episode took me a little while to get through. I broke it up into 3 because you guys know I'm constantly riding Tom Hannafin. Okay, well, no, I don't really make fun of Tom Hannafin that much. Oh! But it was more Raywall this episode.
Hey man, I really appreciate that Patrick Price on my insurance, Jake from State Farm.
He was insufferable to me on commentary this episode. And I just, after a while, I was like, I can't do anymore. I got to take a break. But I was truly slammed. To rewind time here a little bit. I spent the last 3.5 months of 2024 on active duty. So I had like real set hours. Okay. I had a work schedule. So with my job, like my contract ran out in October, where I had like set days, set hours, whatever, like fucking independent wrestler. Okay, so now I'm essentially working on a handshake deal. Like I'm like TNA. Okay, so my hours are just like all over the place. My days are all over the place. I worked all weekend. I worked till midnight on Sunday, and then had to be back at 8 a.m. Monday. So just absolutely fucking slammed. I just did not have time to sit down and podcast. And then this morning, I actually woke up at 3 a.m. for you guys this morning. I was going to do the podcast, and my StreamYard account was suspended because I had fraud on my bank account a couple weeks ago. So when that happens, cancel everything, send you a new card, whatever. So my billing information for StreamYard was this account. They couldn't bill me, so they canceled the account, and I had to get in touch with them. So now here I am on a Tuesday night talking to you guys, talking a little TNA Impact.
TNA Impact! Oh!
So we're going to get into this episode. I'm going to try to run through this quickly. I always say that, but it never fails. Whether I'm trying to be quick, whether I'm slow, it's always a 45-minute episode. There's just like no way around that. But to get into a little bit of news this time around, because people do like to hear my thoughts on wrestlers released from the WWE that potentially could be a fit for TNA. And I've been saying to you guys, the TNA fan base likes the idea of someone from WWE or just a free agent in general coming over to TNA, usually from WWE, though. That's the ones they really like. They like the idea of it more than like they like the actual execution of once that person, that guy or girl is in TNA, and how they're booked, how they're pushed. They're going to get a championship. They're going to get a title match much sooner than later. It knocks everyone on the roster down. You know what I mean? So the TNA fan base loves when someone chooses TNA. That is what like really gets their dicks hard. Okay. I'm going to go through this list like real freaking quick because I don't have any interest in these people. Just throw that out there for first and foremost. All right, Duke Hudson, who the fuck is that? He was this dude in Chase U. So, okay. When I'm watching wrestling, okay, or I'm a fan of a wrestler, there are a few categories that are important to me. And there's also categories that make a wrestler to me not feel big, not feel important, not whatever. So one is if a wrestler is out of shape. skinny or fat, unless your gimmick is to be Colin Delaney and just go be skinny and get your ass kicked every week, or your gimmick is to be King Kong Bundy, that is different. But when you just like an out of shape wrestler, I'm not into that. When a wrestler looks like one of the fans, I'm not into that. All right. So there's just if a wrestler I could not recognize on the street, I'm not into that. Like this WWE has this girl, the Intercontinental Champion Lyra Valkyrie, whatever the hell. I would not recognize her if I passed her in the mall, if I passed her in Walmart, whatever. She is as plain face as they come to me. So that is the thing I look for in wrestlers too. If I see you out in public and I wouldn't recognize you, then I probably have no interest in you as a wrestler. This Duke Hudson dude is exactly that. He works out a little bit, whatever. He's got a good body. I would not recognize him if I ran into him on the street. He just looks like a dude. No interest. The man, what is their tag team names? The list here has them as Razor and Akon. What the two big, you know who I'm talking about? Powers of Pain or whatever the hell. Authors of Pain, right? Is that what they are? I would have interest for the sake of them bringing in a tag team, but I don't have any interest in them coming in and winning the titles. You know what I mean? So I'm going to say I have no interest in them, but I wouldn't be against it if they brought him in. But I don't believe they love wrestling. I think that was kind of put out there. Blair Davenport, I saw her in AEW a little bit when she was around. I thought she was okay. I didn't see anything particularly special about her. Cedric Alexander, that's the one everyone's like, we need Cedric Alexander. That would be wonderful. But money talks. The Hurt Business already has their thing going on in AEW. I know that Tony Khan and Big Swole had whatever issue. Money fucking talks, okay? Cedric Alexander's not coming to TNA. He's going to join this whatever Hurt Business shit they got going on, especially because it's one of the better parts of the company. He's probably going to do that. Paul Ellering, no interest in him coming in any way, shape, or form. Sonya Deville. So I actually like her for the simple fact that when she hits people and kicks people, it looks like it hurts. Like she's a strong striker. And that's something I enjoy in a woman when watching women's wrestling. Like if they're doing moves and it looks like it hurts, it's convincing. I'm into something like that. So she's the one person I would like to see come over. Giovanni Vinci. I know that he was like a part of Imperium for a little bit. Turned him to a huge jobber. Got a pretty decent look. He kind of looks like one of the fans, but he has a good build. He has a good enough look, so I wouldn't mind them giving him a chance. Isla Dawn, however you say that. She's probably too hot for TNA. They just don't sign chicks like that, whatever. I actually don't know how good or how bad she is in the ring. I know she was that's a horrible wrestling name, by the way. That was when NXT was really into this like random name generator type of stuff with wrestlers. But she was tag team champs with Alba Fire, whatever her name was, who I think is a lot better, and I'd have a lot more interest in her if she was available. But why not, right? I guess that could be. They need the knockouts, so it's a possibility. The one thing is, AEW does not pick up a lot of these free agent females. They pick up a few straight out the indies, and then they'll pick up some leaving TNA. But as far as like departing WWE, and the knockouts is still kind of the place to be as far as that goes. And you got to remember, being a part of the TNA roster, now you're by default, you're going to be on the NXT WWE radar, and you know that they do bring people back. So I'd be cool with that. Elektra Lopez, I don't know a whole lot about her. I saw her at NXT a little bit, like the couple NXT episodes that I watched when they rebranded. I remember her being there. Again, probably too hot for TNA. They just don't sign girls that look like that. They just don't. I don't think she can wrestle. I think she's more of a manager. Who would she manage? So that's probably not going to be a thing. And I'm going to save these dumb fucks for the last, the Good Brothers. I'm telling you guys right now, and I'm not saying this as a joke. If TNA brings them back, there's a 90% chance I would stop podcasting. They were part. I was excited when they had signed them back in the day again, because as a TNA fan, TNA fans like when someone chooses TNA, right? I was very optimistic. But I hated them once they got in the ring. I hated them at that point, and I hated them going forward. They dominated the tag team division. Their very first match was against my guys, Reno Scum, my guy Adam Thorstow. And they didn't even have a competitive match. You know, I'm not saying like squash the dudes, but I don't think there's room for squash matches in the tag division, okay? Because they just don't have teams. They didn't even have a competitive match with those dudes. And they ran through the division. The division took a couple years to recover. I don't even know if they have recovered. The division's not that good. But they did almost irreparable damage to the division. They're extremely unfunny, extremely annoying. They were paid a lot of money. And when you pay someone that kind of money, you got to make them promises. They were part of the kind of pandemic era to 2022, whatever. The era that I thought was top 2, top 3 worst eras of TNA. The era where I wanted to, I really wanted to just stop podcasting. The show was making me very unhappy watching it, and they were a big part of it. Yeah, there was We Own the Night and all this bullshit you know what I mean? But the Good Brothers were such bad television. Now, for my conversations, these guys were getting paid like $250,000 each, okay? And that's just going to happen. If you bring in someone and you're paying them $250,000, and then you're paying, Reno Scum their indie rate, how can you book a division like that when there's such a disparity, large in disparity in their pay? Now, I know that's something they're trying to fix now. That's what all of these little releases and asking people to take less so that's all this is about, having some kind of balance. But if you bring those guys in, you're going to have to pay them a lot of money. They're not, from my conversations, okay? Impact, TNA very much felt they were overpaid. They're not going to give them that kind of money again. All right? Scott D'Amore is not around. So I don't think they're going to come back. But I'm not kidding with you guys. Like 90%, I don't want to watch a show that they're on. I think they're that bad. All right. So that's that. I don't think there's anything here for them. Sonya Deville, I would be very cool with. Anybody, there's nothing here. These are jobbers for the most part. They released. These are all people who, not all of them, but a good half of them were released and then brought back and released again. There's just no one here, because I keep telling you guys, every time they bring in these dudes, these WWE guys, it's going to take the people on the TNA roster and knock them down. And they're just never going to grow and hit that main event level. We're never going to see Ace Austin get up to the main event, or some of these dudes, or Trey Miguel, because you're bringing in these dudes who are just taking those spots. So I don't have a lot of interest in that group. Rebellion tickets are looking really, really good. I think they're setting it up, trying to sell 4,000 tickets. They just might get there. They're halfway there. There's always going to be a rush at the beginning, people to buy tickets, and then you're going to have a slow period. And then when the show's coming up, then all of a sudden we're going to start getting influx of sales again. So I told you guys months and months ago, when they were firing all these people, getting rid of every time I said all these people they're getting rid of, the company doesn't think they are good at what they do. Who do we get? Artie Evans, Lou DeAngeli, Scott D'Amore.
What do you mean by trim the fat? I want you to fire the fat people. They're lazy and they're slow and they make me sad to look at.
But you guys see, you subtract all these people who the company felt they were hindering the ability for growth. Okay. These guys are all gone. We've pushed these guys out the door, and now the company is growing, and it's crazy. It's a beautiful thing to see. But you see that there was nothing to worry about, and everything that I said has come to fruition. You know, they've put people in these positions that want the company to grow and succeed, and look at things through a different lens. But they just might do it. They just might do it with a rebellion. I mentioned this on a podcast or two ago. I don't know. But people have been asking if I plan on going to Rebellion. It is possible, but I will be in Indianapolis Friday and Saturday that weekend. So LA is not that far for me. So it is possible, but I am not positive that I would be going to Rebellion. I have interest in going, but I'm not positive I could do so. But yeah, that's it. That's it for the opener. This definitely isn't going to be a quick podcast now. But let's get into this episode. The episode was pretty good. These my favorite part about these shows is the lively audience, the crowd. It doesn't sound like there's 200 people there like we've been very accustomed to for years. It's insane that an actual television episode has this many people. Usually we're used to pretty decent sized crowds for pay-per-views, and then the TV show happens and it's 400 people in the crowd. I've said this one to you guys before, but just for my new listeners. I went to Bound for Glory in 2015, I think it was, in Orlando. It's packed in there. I go to TV the next day, and there's 150 people there. I, to this day, do not know how they made it look like on TV that there was more, because it was so empty the night that Eddie Edwards won the world title. It was so empty in there. And it is crazy for me to think back at those days, at those times where we're just praying that 250 people buy tickets or show up for an episode. And all of a sudden there's 1,000 people in the crowd. And there's very little difference between watching an episode of like Collision or Dynamite at this point and what TNA is doing, So, but the actual episode was decent. The shows the last couple of weeks have their redeeming qualities, and then they have some bad qualities, which this one does as well. This show kicks off with the Joe Hendry concert.
Believe that.
And I think it was a good thing to do, because we're coming back to what got this guy popular and over to begin with. We don't want to get too far off that. Am I begging for him to be more serious? Yes. It's not that serious, but I'm damn near on my knees. Like, stop being a goofy fuck, please. Do some of the things that got you over. But the goofy smile and all that's it, just the cheesiness. Every week, I'm like, surely he's going to dial it back this week. And it just doesn't happen. But I thought the concert was good. It was short and sweet. I did like the fact where he points out, this is the part where somebody cuts me off. So he's doing a rendition of We Are the Champions and some other song I don't quite remember. He's saying this is the part where someone cuts me off. And music hits. Tom Hannafin is fake surprised, fake impressed with Naked Jake.
You mind if I slip into something more comfortable?
Jake something wrestled as a babyface on the Genesis pre-show. Okay. I think so. He comes out, he cuts a promo, not real good. But he challenges Joe Hendry for the next week. And Joe Hendry sings, I accept. So we're going to get Joe Hendry versus Jake something for the World Championship. I've said it before. I'm going to say it again. I'm so out on this guy, out on Jake something. We thought when he came aboard, okay, this guy's got a good body. He's got a good look. They can do something with him. But at first he comes over and he's cousin Jake, and no one's interested in his gimmick, the Deaners thing. He eventually breaks off from that, he goes back to Jake something, which is what he did on the Indies. But over time, there's absolutely no growth in his character, which I don't totally blame on the company. I think some of it is the company and some is him. Playing music, plain clothes, walking around without his shirt off all the time. No kind of ring gear, no kind of t-shirts. He easily could have got a "ain't that something" catchphrase over, nothing. Even when he turned heel, he still came down and "what's my name" with the crowd. That's babyface shit. But there just didn't seem to be any effort on his end or the company's end to do anything interesting with this guy. Couple start stops, had a decent little feud with Ali. They had a great match. He can wrestle. He can definitely freaking wrestle. But he came back maybe a year ago looking like Hercules Hernandez, and it's just, the plain entrance. He just comes down and this is Jake something. No, he weighs 200 and whatever pounds. He hails from, make him sound like intimidating and, like a freaking big deal. Nothing with this guy. The company tends to give people title shots on their way out the door. Maybe there was a promise down the road, like, hey, you're going to get a title shot. You're going to get a world title shot. And it just doesn't happen creatively. So then they kind of forced it at the end. It's kind of like at the end of Rhino's run, they kind of just forced him onto the show the last couple episodes because they probably promised him a few dates that they didn't get to in his contract. So this is very random. I don't really care to see it. I mean, if you're a fan of a good wrestling match, you want to see it. But Joe Hendry's going to win, so I don't totally care. After this, good old Gia Miller.
Jesus Christ, that's perfect. Of course you're here right now.
And she is with the director of waste management, Masha Slamovich.
How do you like my garbage truck? This truck is in honor of Kamala and Joe Biden.
I didn't think this was a strong promo for Masha. I don't think she should talk so much. Like, I'm not saying she's a bad promo or a bad talker. I would still kind of keep her in the role of a strong silent type a little bit. She doesn't have to be completely silent, but the more she talks, the more holes we see in her promos. So I think she works as far as just come out, say you got to say and bounce. But I don't think she should be backstage with Gia Miller and Gia Miller interviewing her and ask her questions. I think the majority of her talking segments should be done with pre-tapes, with vignettes, if you want to call them that. Maybe doing voiceovers of. I just think that's better suited for her rather than her interviewing and talking. And she is, good old Gia is like, things are getting hectic in the knockouts division. No, they're not. There's a couple challengers out there who are bigger stars than anyone in this jobber battle royal that is happening shortly after this. Masha lets us know she puts over the battle royal slightly, but then pretty much lets us know that it means nothing. The winner means nothing, because then she just moves on to turning her attention to Cora Jade. That is one of the holes for me creatively when I'm watching the show. Is you're clearly in a feud with someone. Clearly, that's the match they're building towards. Clearly, it's a match people want to see. But the champion has to defend their title against this freaking jabron on this. Why defend the title? You know, can you imagine in what's a I'm trying to think of a huge boxing match or a huge UFC match where they're just promoting these two guys against each other, and you just know this is like the big pay-per-view match you want to build to. But then one of the fighters has to defend their title first, and they may lose it. And what if they do lose it? And now all of a sudden your big pay-per-view match is some bullshit that no one wants to see. You wouldn't even risk doing something like that. I just don't understand this wrestling. Like, hey, we have this feud going on. This is what we're building towards. Oh, but I have to defend the title real quick. Hopefully I may, retain it so we can go have our match. So we'll get into the Jobber Battle Royal a little bit later. The next match that we have on the card is we have Tyrese, Genuine, and Tank coming to the ring, and it is Tank versus Ace Austin.
Is this your card?
Yes. Oh my gosh.
It's not, is it?
No.
These are some very imposing dudes. I would love to see a team like this or this team in TNA. I hope that they're on a lot more. I'm glad that they're here right now. They got a great look. Now, I would not recognize either of them on the street. I wouldn't be able. I don't know who's Tank and who's Tyrese. I got no idea. Just because they don't have like defining features other than just being two big jacked up dudes. But from my wrestling TV show, they look like they can beat you. They look like they can beat you up. They look like they can hurt you. So I'm down for that. And he has a very good match with Ace Austin. There was some good wrestling on this show. There was some bad wrestling. We're going to get to it here in a second. But there was a lot of good wrestling. So overall it was a pretty decent episode. It was. I'm not going to say that I absolutely loved it. Ace Austin gets the win, and I tell myself a post-match beatdown is coming. I could have paused the show and say they're going to attack Ace Austin after the match. The Rascals music is going to hit, and then the Rascals are going to run down. And that's what happened. They start beating him after the match. The Rascals music hits, and it goes something like this.
In one word, would I use dope? Nope.
And they come down to the ring because they are setting up a 6-man tag. Everything right now that they're doing, I'm loving the ambiance. I'm loving the feel. I'm loving the crowd. I'm loving the matches. But everything they're doing from a creative standpoint right now for every single feud on this card, except maybe what they're doing with Nick Nemeth. Everything is cookie cutter. The Nick Nemeth, Ryan Nemeth, JBL, that is one story that, I mean, people don't care about it, but at least it is a story that no one can tell where it's going. They have no clue whatsoever. They don't know who's heel, who's babyface, who's going to turn heel, who's going to turn babyface, we don't know, okay? Everything else is cookie cutter. Again, in my notes I'm writing here, I know what's going to happen. I know Ace is going to win. I know there's going to be a post-match beatdown. A 3-on-1 assault, as Hannafin would say. All right. You know the Rascals are running down. It's just paint by numbers, creatively. Everything else is good. There's a lot to get very excited about right now, when you're watching this show. But I'm speaking from a creative place. Things are a little too cookie cutter right now. We then get a great Tessa Blanchard promo.
Oh, I don't like this. That if the Nuggets don't win this.
I said it last week. They were handling her perfectly. It's beautiful. They're not forcing her to wrestle every single week. She's not running through the knockouts division. She clearly is going to win this fucking title in her first match. I shouldn't say clearly. Some people don't agree with me on that. I think she's going to beat Masha whenever they wrestle. Okay. Just doing these little promos. Like she's actually upped her promo game. She's always been pretty good, but she is like truly upped her game, and I really enjoy when she is on the screen. Next on the screen is the Digital Media Championship. The Digital Media Champion, Steph DeLander.
Everybody's been real nice.
Well, that's because you have big jugs.
And her boyfriend, Mance Warner.
Outlaw Mud Show garbage wrestler.
Mance Warner's a pretty decent promo. The guy can talk. He's got a little bit of Mark Briscoe in him to me. I'm looking forward to see what he does in this company. I don't know a whole lot about him. I know he's a garbage wrestler. But aside from that, I'm very open to what he can bring to the table, especially with Steph DeLander in his corner. You're talking about Sami Callihan. They should make sure Laredo Kid isn't around that corner wanting that rematch for that title. They're very obviously building towards a garbage match with Sami Callihan. After this was, when I say this was a decent episode, it could have been a good episode. A good to great episode. The knockouts have a battle royal on this show, though. I would be hard pressed to find a match worse than this that they have done in the last couple of years. They have this battle royal. It's got no stars in it. No credible threat to the Knockouts Championship. It exposed how shallow the division is, a division that they still call the best women's division in wrestling. And it's clearly not. But they still look at it like that. We're seeing the same girls over and over. That we have this happen every couple of years to where it's like the division feels very, very bland because it's the same people and just, nothing to get excited about in the division. Battle Royals for a number one contender is the laziest thing that you can do to build a competitor for the champion. These kind of matches are always won by someone, of bigger stature. I'm talking about battle royals that mean nothing. If in the Royal Rumble, a star is going to win the Royal Rumble. But if they do a battle royal on Monday Night Raw with 20 people, they'll have a jabroni win it. Like a bigger, like the Big Show will not win the Royal Rumble, but he'll win a battle royal on Monday Night Raw. These battle royals typically mean nothing. And it really exposed this knockouts division. Let's go down the list for everyone who was in this. First of all, we had Cora Jade on commentary.
I got a lot of discipline, but 25-year-old with them big cans and that peanut butter skin.
And when I say she was horrible, that is almost like paying a compliment. Because she sucked. She was one of the worst parts about this. No energy, no charisma, nothing. She was a natural. And they do these NXT, they have promo school in NXT. The promos on NXT are so bad. I've watched full episodes, I've watched partial episodes. I don't particularly like the product. I'm not saying it's bad, it's just not really for me. But the promos are all fake and phony, and no one can talk on that show from what I've seen. But this was worse than that. She's cut a couple promos on Impact already. And she's kind of sounded fine. But the best thing I can say about her, the biggest compliment I can give about this segment was that it sucked dick. It was awful. She can't talk. And she ruined the match being on commentary. As far as the actual competitors in this match, we had Ash by Elegance.
Come on, Teddy. Come on, Teddy.
Heather by Elegance.
He has an erection.
Yeah. It's all her fault.
Alicia Edwards.
Hey, baby.
Queen of the Rubber match. Zaya Brookside. Is that 3 Beavis and Butthead sound bites in a row? Let's just get a fourth. Let's just get the personal concierge in there.
That's my dad. But don't worry, he's cool.
Really? He doesn't look cool.
Tasha Steelz.
We've got a badass over here.
Savannah Evans.
That's a huge bitch.
Both members of Spitfire.
Tell me right now that I'm just a job. Tell me to my face.
You're just a job.
Rosemary.
What's that? Is that Rosemary? Think? What the hell is she doing?
And then a surprise entrant into this battle royal, this number one contenders. The winner who wins this is wrestling for the world title. We had are we getting a big debut? Are we getting a big return from this match? No, we're getting Jazz.
She died like 15 years ago.
San Antonio's own Hannafin is fake surprised. And he starts running down all these accolades that he just off the top of his head. So natural. What I found interesting is that they did name drop NWA, who is not working with anybody right now. Obviously, they don't need NWA because they're doing the NXT thing. They probably don't want to share the wealth. They're not going to, hey, NWA, come work with us too and get in on this NXT partnership. That's not going to freaking happen. But the NWA women's roster has chicks who can go. And if there's a way to get them on TNA programming, getting involved with the Knockouts tag titles at a minimum, you've got something here. From a male standpoint, NWA has nothing TNA wants. I assure you. Doesn't mean everyone there is trash. They have no interest. Not even EC3. EC3 is completely washed at this point. There's no one over there that TNA would want. But the women's division is very legit. So it's just interesting that they name drop NWA and they name drop the promotion that Jazz runs. That's the one of the territories for NWA. San Antonio's own. I had no clue she was from there. So this match is like very, very bad. A lot of it, the main reason, there was two reasons. Cora Jade on commentary and Ash by Elegance. She just continues with this horrible, horrible comedy. Heather pulls off her role okay. I don't have an issue with what she does because that's kind of in a supporting role and she's a better actress. But Ash clearly thinks that she is funny. She's not. And there was just too much humor throughout this whole match. Once you start bringing in humor, it just means what we're doing means nothing. So Jazz was in this match, as I said. I think she was like the third to last person to get eliminated. It took them basically cheating to eliminate her. This person who I would imagine is in her late 50s, mid to late 50s. She's not a character on the show. She's not a credible challenger or threat to the title. But your knockouts have to cheat to get her eliminated and over the top rope. I'm very concerned. I don't know how much longer they're in San Antonio. They didn't announce it, I don't think. But I would not be surprised if we didn't get an impromptu Ash by Elegance versus Jazz match. That Ash would probably lose. The last two in this match are Zaya Brookside and Savannah Evans. The best thing about this entire match was Zaya Brookside's outfit, by the way. That's probably the only redeeming quality of this thing. Zaya also almost dumped Savannah Evans over the top rope. She carried a fireman's carry, got her over the top. Now she was ultimately eliminated here. Cora Jade got involved. And Savannah Evans is your winner. Savannah Evans just lost a couple weeks ago in 4 minutes to Lei Jing Lee. And here's my issue. We know that Masha is going to win the match, first of all. We know that Savannah Evans is not winning this match. There's zero chance. Okay? But she just lost to this Lei Jing Lee, who's wrestled 3 times on the show. They had a very bad match. But they had a 4-minute match where she essentially got squashed. I thought maybe she was just out of the company at that point. We haven't seen her since. they repackaged her. I let you guys know, hey, they're repackaging Savannah Evans. She'll be back. They do so. She shows up. She does one squash match, attacks Lei Jingli, and then loses. Okay. She's supposed to. Masha Slamovich is going to wrestle this girl next week. Lei Jingli, again, beats her in 4 minutes. Masha better beat her in 3. Because if you're going to go on and do this program with Cora Jade, program with Tessa Blanchard, like she's going to beat Cora Jade. Cora Jade is not winning the title. Tessa, I think, is. But if you're going to go on and you're going to wrestle these girls, how are we supposed to believe that you're going to beat them if you have a competitive match with Savannah Evans, who last time we saw lost in 4 minutes in a bad match where she didn't get a lot of offense in? So if they wrestle next week and they're going 8, 9, 10 minutes, well, Lei Jingli could beat her in 4. What is Masha doing fucking around for 10 minutes? And how are we supposed to believe that she can beat one of these other challengers if she can't beat this person? So I thought when a Spitfire were going to win personally. Obviously, I was wrong with that. But yeah, there was a lot of ass in this match. Ash and Heather and Alicia, just ass hanging out of their pants. That is the look, apparently, for TNA. After this, we have who do we have? Eric Young, right? I should mention that he's king of the rah-rah.
I think those times are like the rah-rah speeches and like getting everybody up, because like nobody really get motivated off that stuff anyway.
And he is flanked by the Northern Armory, Kid Icarus, and the Wizard Walt Williams.
I'm here to tell you right now, we don't care.
Let me tell you
We don't care.
I'm just a job?
So, at the top of the show, I was talking about free agents and guys who look like the fans and guys who look like I wouldn't recognize them on the street. About 3 weeks ago, I see a thumbnail for Explosion, and Gia Miller is talking to someone. I sent a message to the Brace for Impact chat on Twitter. I said, bro, who the fuck is this? And they said, I forgot who it was that said it. He's like, it was Dobby the Brain Heenan. He said, it's Kid Icarus. I didn't even recognize the dude. I'm not going to lie. So it's good we're putting Eric Young with these guys. They need it. They need him. But Eric Young is cutting a promo. The Northern Armory runs TNA. Okay. Sure they do. You guys have never wrestled a match as a team, I don't think. I think they attacked Josh last week, right? They haven't actually wrestled before. So they're cutting the promo, and here comes Steve Macklin. And I know this is like real nitpicky here. I got to put you guys up on a little bit of game, though. This bothered me so much. He comes down, and Ray Wall says, speaking of Armory, here comes the consummate soldier of TNA. I'm going to put you guys up on a little bit of game. Just because someone serves in the military, they are not soldiers. The Army are soldiers. I know like people play Army and play soldiers and stuff as a kid, and just in the mainstream, everyone's a soldier, right? Army are the soldiers. The Marine Corps are the Marines, Air Force are the airmen, Navy is the sailors, Coast Guard is the Coast Guardsmen, Space Force is Guardians. Okay, the only soldiers are in the Army. Steve Macklin did not serve in the Army. He is a Marine. So shut the fuck up, Matt Raywall. I'm telling you, he bothered me so much this freaking episode. There was one point where he was mocking somebody. I don't even remember what match it was. But he was speaking in a mocking tone, but his voice is the mocking tone. So when he was trying to imitate someone, he was like, dude, you're just imitating yourself, you piece of shit. He just was like very insufferable for me this episode. But Macklin comes down and he's saying, I shared things with you that these guys wrestled as a tag team like twice. I share things with you I've never shared with anybody. So not even your wife. If he had PTSD, he's seen a counselor. He shared these things. Okay. What made Eric Young so special? We knew that this turn was coming because every time they start using terminology like trust and friendship and all that, it means someone's turning. Okay. Everybody, Stevie Wonder could see it through a brick wall that Eric Young was going to turn heel at some point and feud with Steve Macklin. And then as they're talking, Josh Alexander's music hits.
I don't want to play with you anymore.
And I just thought to myself, man, I do not miss babyface Josh. I really enjoyed what he was doing as a heel, solo or with the Northern Armory, whatever he was doing. I really enjoyed it. I never was into babyface Josh. And here is my loophole, my logic loophole here, okay? So he loses this match to Mike Santana. He's a heel. And he says, I quit. He does the heel thing. I quit this company. The next week he comes out. The Northern Armory attacks him. This guy's quitting on his own, okay? He is not being fired. He is not being asked to leave on the show. He is quitting on his own. He comes out cutting this babyface promo. I love this place. I love TNA. Why are you leaving then? Why are you still leaving? Your character just changed from heel to babyface to where you were just this pissed off heel and you said, F this place, and you're leaving. And now you're like this babyface who just loves TNA all of a sudden. I love this company. I was the world champion. Motherfucker, why are you still leaving then? On his own accord, he is leaving. So he's going to wrestle Eric Young next week. They're probably going to have him win because they need to. There's certain people you bring in who they put someone over on the way out the door. I don't see them doing that with Josh. I feel like they're going to say, oh, you were the gold standard of TNA, so you got to win on the way out. But you do that after just establishing this new heel stable. I guess we'll just see what happens. I don't know. Then after this, looking for Mance Warner is Salami Calorie Ham, the bread machine.
Oh, you gotta give him that huck too and spit on that thing. You get me?
He's fat.
This dude, Sami Callihan, was off. Like, he's an irrelevant. So before I get to the actual segment, he's clearly building towards a garbage match with Mance Warner. And it's going to be very interesting to see how they book this. Because he is an irrelevant character on the show. He has not wrestled in months. And then he just shows up out of nowhere and starts, who's 23? Are you 23? Motherfucker, you've been gone for like 3 months, dude. You can't start coming here asking questions. But it's going to be very interesting to see how they book this because Mance Warner's the new guy. He needs to win. He can't just come in and lose to Sami. But the company also has guys wrestle until the babyface wins. It's very rare in TNA that a heel just flat out wins a feud. Usually they just keep wrestling until the babyface gets that comeuppance. I've talked to you guys about that before. So again, Sami's not a relevant character on the show. You can have your fucking whatever, El Paso street fight, whatever. Mance Warner needs a win. And then he does not need a rematch after that. He needs to whoop Sami Callihan's fat ass and write him off TV. And then move on to something else. But I'm very concerned that they're going to keep wrestling until Sami wins. And that's no bueno for Mance Warner. I think it's pretty clear that they're treating the Digital Media Championship like a joke right now. I would be very shocked at this point if it went around a male wrestler's waist at this point. This reminds me of a lot of when they were writing the Grand Championship off screen and Josh Matthews was carrying it. That's what this reminds me of. So I think that they're going to find a way to get it out of here, to get that garbage out of here. That's what I assume is going to happen. And I think we're getting a new belt, something brand new. So We'll see if that's what they do. But Sami Callihan is walking around backstage. He comes into contact with Frankie Kazarian, King of the Block Party.
It's a block party. I'm not playing with y'all, bro.
He said, "Where's Mance Warner?" He said, "I don't know who that is. I'm cutting a promo here. I'm getting myself over or putting himself over, whatever the hell he said." I thought Frankie Kazarian was great here. Frankie Kazarian is typically one of the better parts of the show when he's on, regardless of what he's doing. It could be a quick segment, a long segment. It could be him wrestling. He's usually one of the better parts of the show. So even though he's blocked me and he is King of the Block Party, I do appreciate what he does. But then guess who the fuck was standing 5 feet away from him? Santino.
Sometimes it may be good, sometimes it may be shit.
And Frankie Kazan, I think he said, "Hey, stupid Santino." So maybe Frankie and Sami are going to have a match. I don't really know, but come on, dude. This guy Santino is just randomly standing places where stuff just happens to be going down, happens to be happening. I'm so done, DUNN, with this guy on my TV screen. I swear to God. And then 6-man tag team match. We have Moose.
Damn you, Moose.
They're representing the system, by the way. He is a 2-time grand champion. We also got Eddie Edwards.
All right, son, I'm going to need those 2 hams back.
I don't have any hams.
Lift up your shirt, son.
Johnny Dango Curtis, JDC.
These are spirit fingers, and these are gold.
Their opponents, the youngest in charge, Leon Slater.
Hey, here. I'm in charge.
Do you feel in charge?
And the Hardys.
Wonderful.
My name is Jeff.
Very, very good 6-man tag. As I said, the wrestling was pretty good on this show. You just remove the Knockouts Jobber Battle Royal. Where's Lei Jing Lee in this match, by the way? Nowhere to be seen. It's one of the worst free agent signings in the world. You might have to start getting the Kushida soundbite. Anyway, aside from that match, everything was pretty good on the show from a wrestling standpoint. This was very, very good as a match. I thought the youngest in charge, Leon Slater, I thought he should have got the pin. But I knew they were going to make Jeff Hardy hit the Swanton, which looked like crap after the 360 or 450 Swanton, whatever it is that Leon Slater does. But at least they told it to where Leon Slater hit the move and then Jeff Hardy got the Swanton in, get my shit in. You got to get your shit in for the Hardys. And they get the 1, 2, 3. This is the second time Jeff Hardy has pinned Moose. And as I was saying to you guys, the creative is getting very, very cookie cutter. Very, very paint by numbers. It was like that last year. It's been like that this year so far. We're only not even 2 months in. But it's very paint by numbers. And one of the things that bothers me is when someone says, well, in pro wrestling, they've done everything. They've done all the gimmicks. They've done all the stories. Do you know there's new episodic TV series and movies that come out every single month? They're not like, hey, we ran out of titles. We ran out of topics. There's still, to this day, people releasing TV shows, movies that are original and stuff that no one's ever seen or done before. I am watching this series on Hulu. Maybe some of you guys are watching it, called Paradise. If you're not watching it, you need to. It is genius television. The whole first episode you're watching, the basic premise is that the president was killed. The Secret Service guy finds him dead. So you think it's just like a who shot him, who shot Bravo mystery, right? But you're watching the whole first episode. You're not even really sure what the show is about. You know, you kind of got an idea because of the president getting shot and then like who did this. But at the same time, you don't understand what's going on until the closing like 10 seconds of the episode. And then you're like, oh. And they have this thing that they do where they have a mainstream song that'll play throughout the show. And the song actually ties into the plot of the show, but you don't know the plot of the episode, but you don't know until it's the end of the episode. and they hit you with cliffhangers. This episode 4 cliffhanger crazy. Okay, this is a really good series, folks. But it's a new spin on it. Like, there's no show like it. You know, they're still putting out horror movies, killer movies, and they're not like, oh, well, someone did Scream. They've done everything. They find a way to make it new. You know, my wife and I love reality dating shows. That they were like, hey, The Bachelor's already out. What are we gonna do? There's no other day, you know. So Netflix comes with Love is Blind, which is like the exact where The Bachelor is very surface level. Love is Blind, it's not surface level. It's getting to know someone on the inside. Also a great show. But every day, every week, every month, there's people getting into this space of television, of digital media, and putting their own spin on things. There's no excuses that, well, it's all been done before. So this, you know, we're going to get Jeff Hardy his title shot by pinning Moose and pinning him twice. Like, I mean, that's all you got. It's the best you got. It's just lacking anything compelling storyline wise. Like in this show, like again, the wrestling is all very, very good, but there's just nothing grabbing us from a story. Like it's just out of wrestling 101. And I'm giving you guys this example. Like there's new shows every day. The problem is these guys in creative, they're wrestlers. They're in the wrestling bubble. People criticize Vince McMahon for bringing in people to the creative process that weren't wrestling fans, because you got to think outside the box. You know, you're making television, episodic television that's supposed to hook people, but you can't just be in the wrestling bubble. Can you imagine if they went to Robert Downey Jr. and they said, "You did such a great job in Iron Man. We want you to write the next one." He was a great Iron Man, great actor. Doesn't mean he can write the freaking the next movie and direct. We want you to write it and direct it. You were so good in the first one. You got to get outside of that wrestling bubble. The creative team is in the wrestling bubble, so they're just going to do dumb, phony, fake wrestling shit instead of like thinking outside the box and doing something to really, really draw us in. There's only a few wrestling companies out there. It cannot be like, oh, well, they've done everything. WWE's done everything. They haven't. If you bring in creative people, they can come up with some creative things. Lucha Underground they say, hey, we're just going to do things different. We're going to put our own spin on wrestling. It was more of a TV show, not a promotion. And it was about 3 seasons, but they succeeded in what they tried to accomplish. And that's just not what we have going on in TNA. It's just, bump into each other in the hallway, pin someone twice, 2-on-1 beatdowns, and now we got a feud with this person, and they're gonna run in. It's just the same fucking shit with different people every week. I'm speaking creative, and I'm being a little negative on this episode because I'm tired, I'm sleepy, and I have to go back to say the episode was not that bad. It just has some bad moments to it. But what I'm saying right now about creative, I'm not even really talking about this episode. I'm just talking about all the episodes. Nothing is grabbing you. They're just relying on wrestler A and wrestler B having a good wrestling match. I will say the Mike Santana and Mustafa Ali is a little more interesting from a storyline standpoint. But aside from the Nick Nemeth stuff, everything is extremely, extremely predictable on the show. There's some people that they tell me that I say things are predictable too much, but they are. So I'm not supposed to point it out. Then we have the good hand jobs.
Hey, for another 60, I'll jerk you off in the parking garage.
And they are arguing backstage like these motherfuckers haven't been on TV, and like they're acting like they were just on the show earlier in the evening. They haven't wrestled in like months. And they're gonna get on here and start arguing. What this heated argument about what? You guys aren't relevant on the show. But Mustafa Ali walks up.
If you vote for me, all of your wildest dreams will come true.
He may be trying to build a little stable, little cabinet here. The Good Hands wanted to be involved once before. So is that what he's doing here? Because he says, with me, you can be great hands or something like that. The Good Hands were involved with him before, but they were like brown nosers. Now Ali's actually paying some attention to him. He kicked them to the curb when a couple of real stars showed up, the grizzled young vets. So they're revisiting this. I would have a lot of interest in Mustafa Ali with a cabinet, with a security detail and a cabinet with the Good Hands, with Campaign Singh, with Tasha Steelz, who we saw after this. She is like, she wrestled like an hour ago, but she's got her head in her hands. Alicia Edwards screwed her over, whatever. But Mustafa Ali tells her, "Come with me," takes her hand, and they walk off. This is a great opportunity. I don't care so much about the Good Hands, but this is a great opportunity to repackage Tasha Steelz. If she's kind of this like first lady type of character and maybe has a dress suit on or a pantsuit or something like that, that could be very interesting. I feel like she's one of the best overall knockouts, if not the best overall knockout as far as the package from A to Z, I should say. But this would be very, very good for her if that's what they do. I'm hoping it is some kind of repackage, some kind of cabinet. That would be very interesting. After this, Mike Santana.
That's nasty.
Versus Matt Cardona.
I used you. You are pathetic.
I had this new soundbite idea for Matt Cardona, but I was downloading the MP3 and my program would not accept the MP3 for whatever reason. I tried it many, many times. It was from Horrible Bosses, where he says, "It's like you don't care about this company at all." He says, "No fucking shit, I don't care about this company." So that was going to be the Matt Cardona soundbite. I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to this match. I like both the guys. I'm sure it was fine. I knew Mike Santana was going to win. Matt Cardona, like, what are we doing here? He's on the roster page. So that tells me he's not just like hanging around for a couple matches. Maybe he is. It's very possible at the end of these tapings, we get no more Cardona, no more Jake Nothing, no more. I should have called him that a lot more often. Old Naked Jake, old Nut Huggers. We may not even get Savannah Evans after this. Maybe this is like, hey, we're throwing you a bone at the very end. You're going to lose this title match, because I just don't see where they go with her after losing to Lei Jing Li and then losing to Masha. You know, what the hell are they going to do? So I don't know anything. I'm just saying I just would not be surprised if we don't see her on the show after this. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see Matt Cardona. He's just coming in. He's doing jobs. There was a point in his indie career where it felt like, hey, we can really do something with him. He can, he just, I don't know, like it's just kind of fizzled out. Either do something with him or leave. The dude is not signing. He wants to work for WWE. He wants to go back, but he's being desperate about it. And WWE is not responding to desperate. Doesn't matter that his wife works for the company. That is just what's happening. Main event time. We've got Ariana Grace on commentary.
I'm sorry that people are so jealous of me, but I can't help it that I'm popular.
And she did significantly better than Cora Jade earlier in the evening, who again delivered some of the worst commentary I've ever heard in my life. Ariana Grace is a lot more enjoyable. However, the commentary for this match was very insufferable. A lot of fucking bad jokes and silly banter back and forth. And what's the most serious match on the show? The only part that I legitimately thought was funny was when Hannah Finn told her, well, Ray Wall used to be an NXT Tag Team Champion. And he said, I want my $500. And he's like, now you tell her. If you just didn't catch that, it was just basically that Ray Wall tried to slip it in. Hey, let her know I was NXT Tag Team Champion. I thought that banter there actually came across good. It was funny. It made me laugh, but the rest was like very, very bad in my opinion. But this match was Fraxiom, which is just another tag team where they combine names. It's Sin Cara and some guy in my sleep apnea mask, and they're taking on the Nemith brothers. Ryan Nemith.
I've been talking to people walking here. We've been talking about next year, and I'm sitting there saying, I'm not going to be here.
My bad. That's the Nick Nemeth soundbite. Ryan Nemeth.
It should have been me. It should have been me.
Another good match on this show. I'm going to say it again. The wrestling on this match was good. This was a great tag team match. We know that the Nemeth brothers are not winning the titles. It was just they're trying to advance some kind of storyline with the Nemeth brothers, and that's what they ultimately do. Ryan Nemeth tries to bring a chair into the ring. Nick Nemeth stops him from it. Some shenanigans go down, and then Fraxiom wins a match. So they're now trying to get the butting heads of the Nemeth brothers a little bit. Nick is a baby face. Ryan is a heel. That's really the only compelling story on the show. And it's not even the best story in the world. I don't care about the JBL stuff. Zero shits I give about JBL. I don't care. But what the Nemeth brothers are doing, I'm interested to see where it's going, how it's going to play out. If this is a way to actually swerve us and have Nick become a heel. I'm very interested in it. So, but yeah, man, that is the episode. Pretty solid. If you remove that Knockouts Battle Royal, relatively solid episode. We'll see what happens next week. There's a couple throwaway title matches. I wasn't a big fan of the card. I don't really care about Jake Nothing versus Joe Hendry. I don't really care about Savannah Evans versus Masha Slamovich. I do care about Zaya Brookside versus Cora Jade, but it didn't really, there wasn't a lot to hook me for the next episode. So I need to get to sleep, folks. I am tired. I am also your boy BQ, and I'm out. Peace.